So we did the economics of the MLB.
Yeah, we kind of just applied some of the terms we've been learning in class to like how it runs in baseball, more specifically the MLB.
So to start off, we did the rival and consumption and excludability. So watching baseball on your TV would not be rival and consumption because you're not diminishing anyone else's ability to watch the game. However, if you like go to an in-person game, to like a highly anticipated game, like the seats sell out, you can consider that rival consumption because your ticket is taking away someone else's possibility of having a ticket. Usually watching baseball in person or on TV is excludable because you got to pay for the games on cable TV, and obviously you got to pay to go to the game. In person, baseball would be a private good because it's both excludable and rival consumption, and on TV it'd be a club good because it's not rival consumption, but it is excludable, not rival consumption.
What might be some things perhaps illegal that would make baseball?
Like illegal streaming.
Illegal streaming is certainly something we can talk about that would make it not excludable, absolutely.
I do that for NFL games.
So like the opportunity cost in baseball, there's like this with like the managers and then also the players. So some of the ways the managers do it, like you can't pay everyone $1 billion to play on your team. So if you want to play this guy more, you're gonna have to pay this guy less, and that's the opportunity cost of that. And then for players, they might accept less money to be on a good team to win a championship if that's what they want.
So package for production, and then would include like laborers, materials, or like the land also included, and like capital. So labor would include like the players, coaches, trainers, groundskeepers, umpires, like anyone that gets paid to work for the MLB. You can include like social media managers in there or whatever. Materials would include like the land, the stadium is, like the fertilizer and water used for the upkeep on the field. Capital would include like the stadium, the equipment for the training, bats, gloves, scoreboards, training equipment. And human capital would be like the skills that athletes have, and teams often invest in human capital. They like practice, try to get their players better. They draft younger players, and like sometimes teams will sponsor like a young baseball academy with like a bunch of like prodigies for their age to try to like get their liking to a team, so they want to grow up and play there.
We didn't really talk about human capital in class. What is that?
It's like kind of hard to explain, and I didn't really like, read a whole much into it. I just kind of like saw it and I was like, that's a, you know, I don't know the exact definition, but
No, it's like, yeah, like instead of physical capital, it's kind of like knowledge, know-how,
Yeah.
training, kind of intangible things that a human brain might have that would make them a better worker, which is, I think,
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
So price floors and price ceilings. In baseball, there is no price ceiling for like salary. There's no salary cap on the team. So like teams with more money can pay their players more money, and teams with less money have to pay their players less money. And there is price floor. It kind of switches up every year, but right now it's around $700,000 per player every year.
yeah, usually teams with higher payrolls do better compared to teams with like lower payrolls. So rational decision making is a really big part in the MLB, probably one of the biggest in all major league sports because players fluctuate, you know, they fall, they get hurt easy. Pitchers are really, you know, it's really easy for a pitcher to get hurt. So rational decision making usually falls on a coach, general manager, players, sometimes owners, higher up players or higher up people in an organization. For example, players, as Kevin said earlier, like they can take significant pay cuts, or they can take more money to play for a worse team. They can take less money to go play for a better team, try to win a World Series. Managers, this is a big one. They have to like know when to draft based off what their team needs, like the age. You know, if someone's really old, they're probably not going to, you know, take them in. If they're really injury prone, they're not going to take them in. Coaches have to decide who should play, when to pull someone out based on like their performance, their duration. Like you got to pull pitchers, you can't let them play forever. Basically, that's all for rational decision making.
So elasticity, this comes with like tickets for games. So it can be both inelastic and elastic depending on what kind of game it is. So if it's like a Tuesday game, 2 average teams playing, it's going to be very elastic for the price of the ticket. So if it's like very expensive, there's not going to be a lot of people buying that. But if it's Game 7 of the World Series, it'll be more inelastic because more people will be willing to pay more for those tickets.
So in the American League, they have designated hitters. They don't have that in the National League, but in the American League, they have designated hitters, which are scarce and they're really valuable to a team. So like a designated hitter will get paid more because they're lower in demand. You know, they're more scarce, more valuable. So average salary for a designated hitter is around $13.5 million, where the average player is like around it's just a little over $4 million. Pitchers are also a very high paid position, especially like left-handed pitchers. Those are very scarce, very valuable because it's harder for a right-handed batter to hit like a left-handed curveball, I believe, because it breaks a certain way. I don't know, I'm not a huge pitcher, but and most the MLB is right-handed batters. So whereas like common positions is like a shortstop or a right fielder are easily replaceable and easily found, so they don't get paid as much.
Firms and households. So the entire MLB as a whole is a firm, and then each team is a firm, and then the like people watching the games and going to the games, those are the households, those are the consumers of the products.
I believe we got sunk costs next. Nope, revenue. In 2020, oh, that was a lot of numbers. In 2021, the MLB made around $9.5 billion, so a lot of money, which each team making just around $320 million. And the average franchise is estimated to be around $2 billion. Obviously, some worth more than others. The average is around $2 billion. I think the median was like $3 billion. Maybe it was a little higher, $2 billion. And the average MLB salary is just under $4.5 million, and the highest was Max Scherzer for like $40 million a year, and the lowest being the press floor stated earlier, $700,000. And the MLB makes most of its money through like TV contracts, sponsors, selling tickets to games, concessions, parking. A study found that 43% of the annual revenue stems from media, like social media, TV, national TV, local TV. Tickets get about 34% of the revenue. That includes like normal seats, box seats, season ticket holders, stuff like that. Concessions and parking brings in about 6%. That's really low considering hot dogs are like $25. And lastly, licensing and sponsors bring about 17% of the annual average revenue.
So externalities, so some of the negative externalities that would come from baseball would be like during the games, traffic is crazy, light pollution, there's trash everywhere, and then this increases the cost of living and the noise of the crowd can cause disturbances for the people around it.
And lastly, we have sunk costs. Sunk costs are in baseball would be previous previous contracts that are spent, or contracts that are still in process of being spending but cannot be voided. And a huge example of this is the Los Angeles Dodgers, where at one point this year in like August paying like $87.5 million to players who weren't even on the team because they got traded away or they were forced in retirement due to injury and stuff like that. And so like if you are forced to retire during an injury, you have to like sign a form. If the MLB approves it, and the team who you retired from has to pay out the rest of your contract, or if teams trade away a player, they still have to fulfill some of their remaining contract in some circumstances. Another huge example is July 1st is known as Bobby Vanilla Day because he makes just a little over $1 million every year from the Nets, and he retired in like 1999 or 2001, one of the years. And every year until 2035, he gets a huge paycheck from the Mets. And this often happens because owners would rather pay these costs than keep him on the team, deal with the whatever it's called, even though it may seem illogical. And then next we have the work side of it, but nobody really cares about that.
Yeah.
Nice work. I'll go deal with this, but ready for you two whenever you are.